I'm Tom Hoshin, I work at Redgate and I'm here today to demo dataplatformstudio.com. So we found relatively recently that we had a need for SQL data warehouse at Redgate. Like a lot of software vendors, we keep customer feature usage reports and we store them in an on-premise SQL Server database. Now the problem is that over time this database has got quite large, and so just running ad hoc queries on it can become quite painful. And in fact, a colleague of mine was telling me that a query she wanted to run was taking an hour and 40 minutes. Now once we put that data into data warehouse, the same query ran in 20 seconds. Now this is incredible, but the problem is it took us about a week to get that data into data warehouse. And this is just because we had to learn a whole lot of tools and we had to learn all the ins and outs of data warehouse. Now at Redgate we strive to make ingeniously simple software. And we really believe that we could make this incredible experience that Azure Data Warehouse offers ingeniously simple. So we decided we'd make a tool that would allow you to make that very first import of a SQL Server on-premise into the data warehouse really, really quick and really easy. And here it is. This is dataplatformstudio.com, and I'm going to show you just how easy it is. So I'm going to begin by logging in, and I'm using my Redgate work account. So I'm redirected to my company sign-in page, and I'm going to enter my credentials, at which point I'll be logged into the app. And I'll appear on a landing page where I have the option to do a new import. Now the first thing you need to do when you're importing data using dataplatformstudio.com is create a gateway. Now if you've ever used Power BI or you've ever used Azure Data Factory, it's the exact same principle. So the basic idea is you're going to install some software locally, which will allow my cloud app to see my on-premise databases. So when you click Create Gateway, dataplatformstudio.com will create a specific instance of the gateway for my user account. And when that's finished, I'm prompted to download it. Now you can see once the download started that Data Platform Studio is waiting for that gateway to start. It's waiting for that gateway to call home. So I won't keep it waiting any longer, and I'll just quickly run through the installer. Now what's going to happen when the installer installs is that the program is going to start, and then it's going to check in with dataplatformstudio.com, and we'll see in the UI when it's ready to use. So now the installation is finished, it's checked in with Data Platform Studio, and the UI has received a message saying that it's now ready to view my on-premise databases. So I'm going to type in the name of an on-premise server. And Data Platform Studio will communicate with that server through the gateway and give me a list of my databases. So I'm going to choose this database to update to the SQL Data Warehouse. So the next thing that I'm asked for is a blob storage account. Now this may seem a bit strange, but it's the first bit of heavy lifting that we do for you. So we found that it was really, really beneficial to first of all import the data to Azure Storage, and then from there into Data Warehouse. And the reason this is a good idea is because it allows you to use Polybase. And Polybase is a really great tool, and the reason it's good is because it knows about the internals of the Data Warehouse. So you can get your data in there really, really quickly. But we as a user don't need to know any of this. All we need to do is select a storage account. Now because I logged in using my Microsoft account, we can just simply query Azure, and it'll give me a list of all my storage accounts. So I'm just going to select this one. And the final thing I need to choose is the destination, so I'm going to choose which data warehouse I'm going to import my data to. And I'll just select this one. And I need to insert credentials at this point because we're going to run some scripts on this server. So the final thing that Data Platform Studio will do is a quick test. It checks that everything up, can reach my data warehouse, check it's not paused, for example, check that my premise SQL server's reachable, and everything's fine, so we're good to start the import. So as the import runs, and just let me zoom out a little bit so you can all see this. So as the import runs, let me tell you a little bit about what's going on. So the dial on the left, the progress bar on the left, shows me how much data has been extracted from my SQL server. The progress bar in the middle tells me how much of that data has been pushed up into Azure Blob Storage. Now behind the scenes, we're doing work on your behalf. So the first thing we're doing is we're parallelizing the whole process, and we're also compressing the data to reduce the bandwidth, increase your speed. A bit more interesting in that, because we know the next stage of the import is going to be a Polybase import from the storage account to the data warehouse, we can actually optimize the storage in the storage account that's optimal for that purpose. So we're going to handle things like column and row delimiters. We're also going to store the data across 60 files because this just happens to be the optimal number for Polybase to get that data directly into the compute nodes of the data warehouse. Even more interested in this still is we're actually going to transform your data a little bit. So we need to make sure that that data is compatible with Polybase and data warehouse. So for example, Polybase at the moment only supports a single format of data across all your tables. So we're going to choose a sensible default and we're going to cache your other dates into that format. The final phase of the upload is the import. And the import is the transfer of data from the storage account into the data warehouse. And again, we're doing lots of work behind the scenes here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to recreate the schema of the on-premise database. That is, we're going to recreate all those tables in the data warehouse. But further to that, we're actually going to tweak them a little bit. So not all the types in SQL Server are supported in SQL Data Warehouse. So for example, if your table contains an XML field or a text field, we're actually going to swap that in with a varchar. And we're going to make sure that these schema transformations go hand in hand with the data transformations we made in the first part. So everything fits together as you would expect it. And the final thing we're going to do is move the data itself. So we use Polybase for this, which consists of creating some external tables in the data warehouse. And these external tables reference the storage account. And then the final thing we do is we run a few scripts on the SQL Server to insert from the external tables into the data warehouse. So perfect timing, that's finished right on the dot. And so now my data is in data warehouse. The problem with this little example that I just uploaded is that I chose that database size specifically so we could see the entire import in this quick demo. But it's too small a database to give an effective demo of the final part of the story. So for that purpose, I'm going to go to one that I prepared earlier. So this is a job that I ran yesterday, and this is the actual Smart Assembly feature usage reporting database. So this is a much chunkier database. It's got billions of rows in. But I can view it just like any other database in Data Warehouse. Sorry, I can view it just like any other import job that I've done. And again, it shows me it's finished. So what do you do when your data's in the Data Warehouse? So you might want to do one of several things. You might want to open SSMS and do some querying. You might want to query from Visual Studio, and this will give you some insight into the data. You might want to go one better, open up Power BI, start drawing up visualizations of your data. But what we found ourselves really wanting to do for that very first import, the first time we did it, is we really wanted to benchmark the performance. We wanted to run a query against the on-premise server against the data warehouse. And internal data platform studio.com. Data platform studio.com gives you the ability to do exactly this. So let's do it now. So this is a proper, this is an actual query that we want to run on our data at Redgate, and I'll just click that off. So this is a simple query, but it's a very real query, and it just indicates the most used features and groups them by popularity. And this is running both on the data warehouse now against the local database, and this usually finishes pretty quickly in the data warehouse, and I'm expecting it to finish pretty soon. There you go, 17 seconds. But it's still running on the on-premise SQL Server. And this isn't going to stop anytime soon. We can't really stay here and wait for the next hour, 40 minutes. So you're just going to have to take my word on this. But I will show you a screenshot. So this is a screenshot taken from when I finished this import yesterday. And I can see that the 16 seconds on the data warehouse is compared with an hour, 8 minutes on the on-premise SQL Server. And this is brilliant because it shows exactly the value we get at Redgate from data warehouse. It makes it possible to do that ad hoc querying on the data. You simply can't do it if your queries are running at an hour long. But if it's running in a few seconds, you can. You can make your queries, you can make your mistakes, you can run them again. You can dig down into your results and you get those answers to your questions in minutes rather than days. So this is the screenshot I'm going to leave you with. Again, just because it indicates the immense value you can get from data warehouse, And it also reminds us that just as importantly how simple it is and how quick it is to get to that value using dataplatformstudio.com. Okay, thank you very much.